one of them is the reason that we really started with the old them. They came out because it was a smoothing shiur. I wanted to be
to focus. Rabbi Yoel came, and then Rabbi Yoel wanted to up the standards of my accountability. He says, "Okay, let's film it," and now I'm really accountable.
Right.
To the point, people are listening. You know. Yeah. Can I tell you? I got a call, and this year, there's probably listening to this year. When you hear it, I'm sure he wants to be anonymous.
Call or email?
An email, please call me on this number.
Okay.
So I call him, and we start talking, and he says, I've been listening to your shiur, I'm enjoying it. He says, do you have a brother, Mayor, Baltimore? I said, yeah. He said, I know your family, your sister used to teach in my school. He had a school, my sister used to teach in one of the schools in Flatbush. She's very talented. It's like, do you have a relative who used to learn in Chasdei Torah by Rabbi Label Katz many moons ago? I said, actually, I don't have a relative. It's me. I used to learn in Chasdei Torah by Rabbi Label Katz. This Yid almost dropped the phone.
Wow.
He's like, do you remember me? I was your Rebbe.
Wow.
I was your Rebbe. I said, it was like a short stint in that school. My parents were going through a divorce, and I was having a hard time. And he was very warm to me, very makar of me, great Rebbe. But life moves on. You know, this is like 35 years ago.
Wow. That's tough.
So he said, I can't believe that I'm listening to your shiur.
Wow. Listen.
And he lo mamin. And he started giving me chizuk. He was already giving me chizuk. He says, please continue. So it's a very interesting, the world, what is the saying? The world, it's not a small world. Somebody told me this vart.
This is Rabbi Miller's word.
Rabbi Victor Miller, Zechron Levracha.
It's not a small, it's a big world with a very well-controlled,
Great manager.
Very well run.
Very well-run manager.
Yeah, very run. Hashem, it's not a small world, it's just very well run. I love that. And this is an example of that. To tell you how much people are listening, take a look at this email I received. Shaila on your story. See? It's not a Shaila on Rashi. It's a Shaila on your story. Good afternoon. This Shabbos in the Hashkama Minyan, I daven in. The rabbi told over a story you told about a yeshiva guy got in a car accident in Lakewood with another Jewish guy. The other driver insisted on calling the police, and the police ticketed him for being parked in a handicapped spot. Is this story true? Reason that was disputed is that the driver was sitting in the car at the time of the accident, so he wasn't parked in a handicapped spot, but rather he was standing, which isn't illegal if you're in the car. How could he have gotten a ticket? See how carefully people listen? Oh
my God,
so carefully. So I emailed him back. I said, I heard the story firsthand. I guess the guy either got out of his car when the police came, so they didn't see him in his car. What is that? No, because the rabbi told it over from the way I repeated the story in the shiur.
You just have to be precise.
I got to be more precise. This is accountability 101. I have to be precise. Okay. Baruch Hashem Zechinu. Zechinu, another night of Torah, Daf Yud Gimel, Amid Beis. We stopped yesterday by my timer, the Reb Shimon. It's really like a little bit past halfway through the Daf Yud Gimel Amid Beis. My timer, the Reb Shimon. The Heilige Reb Shimon. Reb Shaul is mentioning over here. He's alluding to just in 2 days. Yeah, we have Lag BaOmer, and Reb Shimon's opinion is that Kahanim need a separate kapara for Shara Averis. They are not covered by the Sur Lazazel, and they also need a separate kapara. The Kula Alma for Tumas Mikdash V'Kedashav, they're not covered by the Sur Panimi. So the Gemara wants to know, my time with Reb Shimon, why is he arguing on Rabbi Yehuda? And he says that even for Shara Averis, they need their own kapara. Says the Gemara, it says in the Torah, you should take the two goats. There's a hekish from the fact that Torah puts it together. The Sar Mishalech, the Sar Nas B'Fnim, Masar Nas B'Fnim, Ein Mechaper LaKahanim, Al Tumas Mikdash V'Kedashav, just like the Sar Pnimi doesn't cover the Kahanim, on Tumas Mikdash V'Kedashav. How do I know that? The Chsiv Be'asher La'am. It says only to the Am. It's exclusive for the rest for Yisraelim. Af Sar Mishalech, Ein Mechaper LaKahanim B'Shav. So too, the Sar Mishalech is exclusive for the Am, and it doesn't cover the Kahanim. Shimon holds the Kahanim need a separate kapara for both. Rabbi Yehuda Amar Lach, Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda says there's a hakish. Says the Gemara Lachi Iska, she shovim b'maro v'kayim v'damim, who the asa. It's coming to teach you that the Shnei Sirim have to be similar in their appearance, in their height, and in their value. But they have to be identical. Beautiful. The doctor always manages to give me the right word. I appreciate it. Okay. Says the Gemara Vayta, Mantan Ladaton Rabbanan. Who is this brisa, the following brisa that we're about to bring? V'shochat se'ira chatas asher la'am, she'ein ha'kahanim eskaprin boy. The kahanim are not covered by the se'ira chatas asher la'am. It says asher la'am. Asher la'am, yeah. So the se'ira pnimi doesn't cover the kahanim.
They have too much extra time.
We said, yeah, they're held accountable. They're held to a higher standard. So they should have learned. We'll talk about the Levim. Tosis is going to ask your kasha. The Levim are nowhere to be found in the sugya. Israelim and Kahanim, Tosis is going to ask, Tap Tosis and Yudalad, Tema Levim b'meiskapru. Where are the Levim? Okay.
The rabbi once said that Levim are professional bums.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's why Tosis doesn't have a teretz. Tosis doesn't give a teretz. I don't know what that means. I don't offend any Levim over here.
It's a joke.
Yeah. Every joke has some truth. Okay, so we have... Who is the following brayso? It says the surah pnimi is an exclusive kapara for the am. She'ena kahanim eskaperin boy. Kahanim not included. Mem eskaperin. How do the kahanim get a kapara? Beparoi shel Aaron. They get a kapara with the power of the kohen gadol. Yochel, I would have thought leiskapru beparoi shel Aaron. They shouldn't get a kapara with the power of Aaron. Shekenemar sheloi. Even by the power of the Aaron HaKohen, it says v'hikra Aaron es parchatas asher loi, which means it's exclusive to Aaron HaKohen. So mayata, if you're going to say that, ein lehen kapara. That means kahanim don't have a kapara. If you want to go to the soyer hapanimi, it says asher la'am. If you want to go to the power of the kohen gadol, it says asher loi. So where are the kahanim left? They don't have a kapara. Avad have a kapara. Kshoimer yichaper ala kahanim etzin shesh len kapara. It says the kahanim have a kapara. So where is their kapara? B'menim eskaper. So where is their kapara? Says the Gemara mutav she eskaper b'par shel. So you have to insert the kahanim in either the soyer hapanimi to be part of asher la'am, or in the power of the kohen gadol to be part of the asher loi. So mutav she'izkapru b'par shel asher hutam b'klalei etzel beisai. It's mutav that we expand the limitation that is set on the power of Aaron to include the kahana, because it already was expanded to include beisai, his family. Because we don't find that Sorah Pnimi was expanded from the original limitation of Asher La'am. So therefore, we include the Kohanim in the power of Aaron. Why? Because we already find by the power of Aaron that Asher Loi has been expanded to include his family. So once we find that it's expansive, so we insert we add the Kohanim there.
From here I see that also
as well.
Levim are with couple too, because Bet Aaron Baruch Hashem, Bet Levi Baruch Hashem.
Oh.
And then Yireh Hashem Baruch Hashem.
One second, we're going to see if that fits. Hold on. If you have a kasha on this drasha, in other words, you're saying maybe it's only Beisai, his family is included, but not all of the Kahanim. Says the Gemara, no. Beis Aharon Baruch Hashem. The pasuk calls the entire Shevet, the Shevet of Kahanim, not the Shevet, I don't want to say Shevet, all of the Kahanim, Beis Aaron. Mishpachot HaKohanim, Beis Aaron. So you see, they're one big, happy family. You know, Rabbi Orlovsky says that the Jewish people are one big, happy, dysfunctional family. So the Aaron, I guess, the You know, I remember hearing a story once. A guy in Chicago emailed me. Actually, his name is I'm forgetting his name. I think his name is Hager. Chicago. He says he was traveling through Poland with his wife. Just to point this, Orlovsky's quote, and we'll get right back to Beis Aaron. But he was traveling with his wife through Poland, and the culmination of the trip was Eretz Yisrael. So they're going through security, airports and different venues, different areas, different places. They come to the Kaisel, Mamish, the last final trip, top it off of the Kaisel Amaravi. They're walking through security, and his wife gives her pocketbook to the Chayal over there. She walks through the metal detector, and the Chayal yells, looks into the purse, and yells, Shalmize, Shalmize. So they look, and the guy says, Yesh lech mashu b'fnim? Like, you have something inside the bag? Like, why is the chayal asking who that's yours? He says, no, I got nothing. He says, that's shelishti, it's my wife's. He says, bolapo. He sticks his hand into the pocketbook, and he takes out a bottle of Advil. He says, yesh li ke'ef shinayim, ani יכול לקחת כמה כדורים. I have a toothache, can I take a couple of pills? So, Baruch Hashem, Am Yisrael is one big happy dysfunctional family. But anyway, Beis Aaron, the mishpachas of Aaron, of Kahanim, are called one family. They're Beis Aaron. They're Baruch Hashem, Beis Baruch Hashem. So says the Gemara, if you're going to ask me, maybe Beisoy only includes his immediate family. No, you see the Torah, you see the Pasuk says, Beis Aaron, Pasuk at Tehillim, we say it by Hallel, Beis Aaron, Baruch Hashem, that the entire mishpachas of Kahanim are all called Beis. And Beis HaLevi, Baruch Hashem, they're separate. By the way, if you hear it's separate, Beis HaLevi, Baruch Hashem, so you have to know. They're not included in Beis Aaron, so they can be included in the Beisoy of Aaron HaKohen. So how do they have a kapara? Tosfos asked this question. Yireh Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Okay, so the Gemara Mantana, who is this brisa that we just quoted? Rabbi Yirmiyah, this brisa, the Rabbi Yehuda, can't be Rabbi Yehuda. The Rabbi Yehuda, Omar, Kahanim, Yesh Lan Kapara, B'Sar Mishtalech. Rabbi Yehuda says that the Kahanim are included in the kapara of the Surah Mishtalech. So when the Brisa says Bamahen Miskaprin, sounds like, how are they going to have a kapara? Which means the Brisa assumes that the Kahanim cannot be included. They have no kapara. They can't be included even in the Surah La'azazel of Klal Yisrael. Can't be Rabbi Yehuda, because Rabbi Yehuda says they are included in that. So Mani, so who is it? Rav Amar Reb Shimon. Rav says must be Reb Shimon. The Omar Kahanim Einlam Kapara B'Shem and Echanami. It's Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon says Kahanim are not included in any of the kaparas of Yom Kippur that that Klal Yisrael is included in. So they're in a different level.
כל העבודה הם עושים את כל העבודה.
Correct.
למה? בשביל לכפר עלינו.
Correct.
אז זה כמו, אתה יודע, זה כמו מה? זה כמו הפרה האדומה. הפרה האדומה היא באה לטהר את הטמא, אבל היא מטהרת, היא מטמאה את הטהור.
Right.
אז ככה, אין לה, אותו דבר, הכהן מטמא.
Okay. Okay, so Rav Shaul is giving a svara why Kahanim have to be in a separate league. That's what you're saying.
כן, כי הם באים לתאר אותנו.
Okay, so that's Takashit's Reb Shimon. Abaya Omar, Abaya says, I see you're busy with Reb Shimon, Reb Shaul. Like Baimer is coming. He's saying Torah and Reb Shimon. Abaya Omar, Abaya says, Afilu Teimer Reb Yehuda. Be'emes, Abaya wants to be Miyashav the Brisa. It could be even Reb Yehuda. The Brisa says, Bamad Miskapar, and it sounds like they have no kapara. They have no part in the kapara of Am Yisrael. Says, no, it doesn't mean that. Bamad Miskapar doesn't mean at all. Hachika Omar. Ma'ata ein lam kapara, but Tumas make this for Kadoshav. He's saying that what is Avad the kapara of Shara Averis, they're included in the Surah Lazazel of the rest of Klal Yisrael. When the Bryce is struggling to figure out Baman Miskaprin, how do the Kahanim have a kapara? It's not for all Averis. It's only B'Tumas Mikshur Kedoshav. Omer Yechaper al Kahanim, but it says Yechaper Amitin Sheshlan kapara b'Shar Averis. You see they have a kapara Shar Averis, which they include in Sarah Mishtalech. Come on, Amitin Sheshlan kapara b'Shar Averis. So just like you find that the Kahanim do have a kapara b'Shar Averis, Kach Yeshlan kapara b'Tumas Mikshur Kedoshav. So must be the also have a kapara in the Averis B'Tumas Mikshur Kedoshav. Baman Miskaprin. So where's their kapara? They can't be included in Aaron's kapara because over there it says Asher Loi. They can't be included in the Am's kapara because Asher La'am. So how are they going to be in a skaper? Says the Gemara, the same terrors, the same logic. Mutav she is skaper b'parshal Aaron. Better to expand the Asher Loi that it says by the power of Aaron. Anyways, you expanded it to include his immediate family. They can't be in a skaper with the Sar Nas B'fnim because you don't find that Asher La'am, that original limitation, exclusivity, that it's only for the Am, has been expanded anywhere, and therefore you don't include the Kahanim in that one. And if you're going to ask a kasha on this drasha, it says already the whole Aaron, all of Kahanim are included in base, in the base side. They're called base Aaron. What exactly is the kasha that you would have asked? And if you'll tell me base side, so take it at face value. Base side means his immediate family. Says the Gemara, no, Kulan Korean Beis Hashem, Beis Baruch Hashem, Yireh Hashem Baruch Hashem. So here you have this proof that they're also included in Beisai. Lamaisa, the Gemara in Yuma says that we darshan Beisai for something else, right? His wife. Rabbi Yossi, I think, says in a few places, Ma'olam lakarisi ishti ela beisi. Right?
Yuma, the first Mishnah.
Yeah. Gemara on Nezakin and Gittin. Gemara in a few places. The Gemara says Rabbi Yossi was the one who called.
He didn't call his ox.
Yeah.
Shore.
Yeah. Gemara says he called. I think the Gemara says in a few places Rabbi Yossi called beisi, and also we learned that mafrishin, you give the kohen gadol an extra wife according to one Tana of the Mishnah, the first Mishnah in Yuma. Because we're afraid that his wife is going to die, and it says that it's mechaper b'chiper ba'devad beisa, so he needs to be married, right? So
12-year-old girl.
So is that what?
A 12-year-old girl.
They give him a 12-year-old girl. Is that what it says?
Because she's never married and she's a psula.
Okay. I guess they didn't have older singles then that were never married. They're saying that
Psula.
right. I'm saying that's 12-year-old dafka or from 12-year-old and up.
Above that, she's already a gedola. She has to be bogeres. No, she's before bogeres.
Okay, I'm not familiar, but the doctor is a bigger Talmud Chacham. So here the I think the Rishonim ask, what do you mean? We already used Beisai for his wife. Yeah, okay. It could be. I think that the answer that there are two Beisais. I have to look it up inside. Okay, Zug the Gemara weiter. V'hai asher la'am la'achi u'da'asa. Asks the Gemara, you just told me that when it says by the Sarah Pnimi, Asher La'am, it's limiting the kapara dafka for Klal Yisrael, and it excludes Kahanim. Asks the Gemara, I already darshan this for something else. How can you darshan it for exclusivity purposes to exclude Kahanim? What do you mean? The Asher La'am is coming to teach me a whole different halacha. I need it for another drasha. That what? That the korban soyer, the soyer apnimi, has to come mishel ha'am. It has to come from the funds that were collected from the tzibur. It has to be bought with the funds of the am and not from the private account of the kohen gadol. Says the Gemara, no, you don't need asher la'am for that halacha because ahu umei esadas b'nei Yisrael nafka. I have a different pasuk for that it says from Adas B'nai Yisrael. That already teaches me that the Sarah Apnimi is bought with the funds of Klal Yisrael. Okay, that's one teretz for that. Now the Gemara is still in the Havamina to exclude Kahanim from the power of the Kohen Gadol. Because Asher Loi, V'hai Asher Loi la'achi udasam. Your Havamin is Asher Loi excludes all the Kahanim and it's only for Aaron. Is that really what it can teach us? I have Asher Loi for a different drasha. It says Mishalayom. It says that the Kohen Gadol has to buy the par from his own money. The par Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur has to be bought from the funds of the Kohen Gadol himself. And he can't buy it with the funds of the Tzibur. I would have thought maybe he can't buy the par from the funds of the Tzibur because the Tzibur are not included in the kapara. Maybe he can collect the funds from the Kahanim because the Kahanim are included in the kapara of the par Kohen Gadol. Talmud Loimer Asher Loi says Asher Loi. No, it has to be mamish from his funds, and he can't even split. He can't split the costs with the Kahanim. Yochel Loi Yavi Vemhevi Kasher. I would have thought, okay, that's the Katchila. You don't bring it from the collective fund of the Kahanim, or from Klal Yisrael. But if you did, Kasher but the Evet. Talmud Loimer. Another time, by Kachim, the klal by Kachim is that unless the Torah repeats it twice, the Katchila works, but the Eved it works. The Katchila, it's only Katchila, but the Eved it works. So if the Torah repeats it again and again, then it's Ma'akiv. So what do you see from here? You see that Asher Loi is coming to teach you an entirely different halacha. They have to buy the par Kohen Gadol from the funds of the Kohen Gadol. So how can you have a Havamina to use Asher Loi to exclude Kahanim? It's already taken. Those words are already taken for another drasha.
אבל הוא אומר שהמילה ביתו זה כל השבט.
Okay, we're going back. You're going back now.
לא, למה? וכאמר, כולן קרואים ביתו.
Right.
כל הכהנים נכללים במה שאמר ביתו של אהרון וכיפר ועד ביתו.
Correct.
אז הוא אומר, אפילו שזה, בגלל שזה מהכסף של הכהן, של הזה, ולא של כל לא של הציבור, זה מהכסף שלו. אז כולם קרואים ביתו, כל הכהנים נקראים.
That's right. You can't exclude the Kahanim from Asher Loi. That's the Gemara's question. So what's the Havamina? Beautiful.
אפילו שהוא קונה מהכסף שלו.
Yeah. So you can't exclude. Exactly. Even if he buys it from his money, it doesn't exclude them. So how could the Gemara have a Havamina earlier? That Asher Loi is excluding the Kahanim. I already use it for this drasha. Says the Gemara, Tani Yochi Kasha Loi. No, the Havamina was when the Tana asked this Kasha. he meant to ask the following. Why are kahanim not included in the kapara of the Sarah Pnimi? You know why? Because the kahanim don't spend money on it. It's not nikna from their funds. The chsiv asher la'am has to be bought dafka from Yisraelim, from the Am. So, but the Aharon, by the Sarah Pnimi. Yes. But the Aharon, nami l'kachasher b'mamayna. But the Aharon also, the Kohanim are not spending on the power of the Kohen Gadol. Aaron himself is spending on it. So maybe I would have thought that for the same logic, the same reason that Kohanim cannot be included in the Sarah Panimi because it's bought with Klal Yisrael's funds, for that same reason they can't be included in the power of the Kohen Gadol because they are not spending the money to buy it.
But no.
Says the Gemara, it's very interesting, by the way. I'm reminded, it's so interesting that I saw this video. I wasn't even going to tell it too. I wasn't going to compare it. But there's a story going around, big story with the Lubavitcher Rebbe and Rav Moshe Wolfson, that Moshe Wolfson was diagnosed with Yana Machla. Came to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. The doctor said they have to operate. The Rebbe said, don't operate, all is good. And he canceled the surgery. And Zel. When the doctors did tests again, they didn't find anything. 20 years later, after the Rebbe passed away, the cancer came back. And now he had a shaila, can he rely on the bracha from the Rebbe 20 years ago? Or does he now need to do surgery? The doctors are suggesting surgery. He didn't know what to do. So he went to the oil. He went to the Rebbe's oil. And he's davening. And as he walks out, they have a big screen playing of the Rebbe speaking and different people meeting him, and which video from the thousands and maybe tens of thousands of footage you have from the Lubavitcher Rebbe is playing the second he's facing the screen walking out after he davened by the kaver, him with the Rebbe, and the Rebbe is telling him, cancel the surgery. And he canceled the surgery. So people were texting me, they were asking me, could you find out if the story is true? Somehow I've become the investigator for people. Like when they hear a story, they reach out, Yoel Gold, maybe you can do the research. So I actually did. I looked into it. I was very inspired by the Mises, so I looked into it, and I actually did find. First, I wanted to find where's this video. So I actually did find the video. I found the video, and I don't know how we can maybe include it maybe in the chat, so people can see it. Where Taker Rav Wolfson or Moshe Wolfson is passing by the Rebbe. The Rebbe gives him $1, and the Rebbe says, I haven't seen your Svarim lately. Have you stopped printing Svarim? I'm going to say Techel. And he says, no, I'm going to speak to my son. My son will, take care to make sure that the Rebbe gets a sefer. So the Rebbe gives him an extra $1. The Rebbe says, here is money for the sefer. If you're going to send it to me, I want to pay. And he says, because the Arizal writes that it's an inyan to pay for a mitzvah. It's an inyan to pay for a mitzvah. You should pay for mitzvahs. And here's what the Gemara is saying. If the Kohanim didn't pay for the mitzvah to buy the carbon of the power of the Kohen Gadol, perhaps the logic is they're not included in the kapara. There's an inyan to pay. So Asher La'am, just like by Asher La'am, the Kohanim can't be included in the kapara of the Sarah Pnimi. Why? Because they didn't pay for it. Says the Gemara, the same kasha, the same havman applies to the power of the Kohen Gadol.
אני כיבדתי את המזה הרב נתנאלי, מהמזה פיקו, שהוא יהיה המזה הסנדק של הזה בן שלי, והוא הוציא לי כסף, והוא המזה, ואז הוא המזה אמר לי, אני רוצה לזה
Wow, can you send it to Rocky Send so we can put it up on the screen? Here we have another, this is a Moide de Gezach. Here, Rabbi Eliyahu, who we owe a tremendous Akar Satov to, he's sponsoring the Arbotzas HaTorah of our Daf Yomi to so many people through social media. He has a Shtieble over here where he's saying that his son, when he's Mechabit San de Kois, Rav Nataneli, who is one of the Lamed Vav Tzadikim, who we have the schus, resides here in Los Angeles, he took out money to pay Rabbi Eliyahu for the mitzvah of Sandikois. So here, this is mamash the sugi we're talking about. Okay, so we'll show when you ever get it, but we'll go weiter. Meanwhile, the Ka'amar, and what does the Tana say? Tana says, answers Kulan Korean Beisai. No, they're all included in Beisai. So the Gemara says, Bishlam Reb Shimon Hain Dechsiv Trei V'duyin V'dam Apar. I understand according to Reb Shimon, that's what the Torah writes. 2 V'duyin and the Dam Apar. Why? Keneged Tzor, Chad Keneged Tzor Nasa B'fnim. V'chad Keneged Tzor Nasa B'chutz. One is Keneged the Tzor Hanasa B'fnim, which the Kahanim are not included in that. They need a separate kapara for Tumas Mikdash V'Kedasha. V'chad Keneged Tzor Hanasa B'chutz, another variation of Tumas Mikdash V'Kedasha. They can't be included in that carbon tzibur. V'chad Keneged Tzor Mishtalech, and the third is because they can't be included in the Shar Averis of Tzor Mishtalech. So you have these 3 elements of the Dam Apar, Trei V'duyin and the Dam and the Par, the Dam Apar. Elo the Rabbi Yehuda, but according to Rabbi Yehuda, that says that the Kahanim are included in the kapar of the Tzor Mishtalech, Trei V'duyin V'dam Apar Lamali. Why do we need 3 elements in the par of the Kohen Gadol? V'chad V'duyin V'dam Esage. I only need 1 vidoy and 1 zrikas dam to include the Kahanim for Keneged Tzor Apnim and Tzor Achitzin. Says the Gemara, you're right. Echad loy ve'echad lebeisoi. The reason, according to Rabbi Yehuda, that you need Trei V'duyin is because we split it up. One has to be separate for the Kohen Gadol. He has to get his own vidoy first before he can be mizvada on behalf of everybody else, the Kahanim. Why? This is the midas adin. This is logic. Mutav yovay zakai v'chaper alachayiv v'yovay chayiv v'chaper alachayiv. If a kohen gadol is going to be mechaper on the rest of his shevet, he can't be included in that kapara. First, he has to have his own vidoy, make sure to cleanse himself. His kaishu v'kaishu, Rish Lakish's famous memra that kshoit atzmecha v'acharkach kshoit acherim, and therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda, Hagam the Kahanim are included b'shar aveis b'sar mishtalech. He still need 2 viduyim by the power Kohen Gadol, because the Kohen Gadol needs his own vidoy to cleanse himself first before he can ask on behalf of his brothers, the Kahanim. Hadrin Shevuos Shtayim, Hadrin Shevuos Shtayim, Hadrin Shevuos Shtayim. Do we have that video? You want to give it a? We don't have it. Okay. What is that? Yeah. Right. So for all of Klal Yisrael, he could have been included first because his paras first. So he could have been included in the Kahanim.
But he's
says,
separate. He's separate. He's at the top. He needs his own kapara in order to be mechaper on even the Kohanim.
Right. That's what we're saying. That's why it's Trei V'duyin, even though they're both using the same par, but the vido has to be separate. He has to be mizvada first and cleanse himself first, and then he becomes a zakai. It's interesting because according to this Gemara, the Gemara sounds like the vidoy is the ikar tshuva. Right? Because the Gemara is calling him a zakai as soon as he does the vidoy. That's already a shaila. I didn't look into it, but it's just occurring to me right now. Is that really true? That he becomes a zakai as soon as he's mizvada, and now he's called somebody who is clean and can be mechaper al achayiv. Okay, that's what does state in the Gemara. Now, Baruch Hashem, we start another perik, and we continue into the world of Tumas Mikdash V'Kedashim. I was joking today to a friend in Koil. I was saying to him, Mamash, it reminds me of the average rabbi. It could be that this is where Rabbanim take it from. You know how like the rabbi gets up and he says, look, it's going to be really quick, and then it'll be over, right? And it goes on for an hour. So here we have, I was talking to Rocky actually this morning, this afternoon. Here, the Gemara starts off Shevuos Shtayim Shen Arba. The first 5 words in Masechta Shevuos Shtayim Shen Arba. Yeah, thinking we're talking about Shevuos, and then it goes Yediyas Atoma Shtayim Shen Arba, and then the whole Mishnah is Yediyas Atoma. The Gemara says, "Whoa, what are you getting sidetracked with Yediyas Atoma? The Masechta Shevuos." No, Yediyas Atoma. Atoma is so little, such a short topic, like there's not too much on it. So first I'll spend quickly, we get that out of the way, and then I'll get to Shevuos. And meanwhile, we're at Daf Yudalid, we're still in Tumah, and the whole parak is me talking about Tumah. So almost half the Masechta is really Tumah. Okay, Baruch Hashem. So the Heilige Mishnah. Yediyas Atoma Shtayim Shen Arba. Maybe we pull up the chart over here. We have a Geshmaka chart to simplify it. Shtayim Shen Arba. The Mishnah is going to divide it between Kodesh and Mikdash. Right? So the first part is Kodesh. Nitma v'yoda v'nelma memenu atoma v'zocher es HaKodesh. That's number 1. Right? In terms of Kodesh, he knew it was Kodesh. He knew it was a carbon the entire time. But he forgot that he's Tameh. He knew he's Tameh, he forgot he's Tameh, then he remembered again. That's the first case. The tolda of that, right? The the other variation of that case would be Nela mimenu hakodesh v'zocher es hatoma, which means that you forgot that it was a carbon, but you remember the entire time you're tummy. So either you forget who you are, or you're forgetting what you're doing, right? So like forgetting the gabra or the chefza. That is the first category, the first half of this Mishnah. By the way, Mishnah quickly, this is not one of the four, but the Mishnah is Nel Memenazeh V'zeh V'ochas HaKodesh V'al Yodem Shachol Yoder Is Ba'oil V'yoyred. The third case, which is not really a third case, it's not mentioned in the headline of the Mishnah of Shtaim Shen Arba because it's only a combination of the both. In other words, these two, right? One is we forgot he's tummy, and the other is forgot he's eating a carbon. Then you have a combination. What if he forgot that he's tummy and he forgot that he's eating a carbon? That's not a separate case because it's only a combination of the two. But it's still the Mishnah puts it in here. So that is one half. The other half is when it comes to Mikdash. Nitma v'yoda v'nelma mimena tuma v'zochas hamikdash. Right? So in other words, with regard to Tumah, you knew you became Tumah, you forgot you became Tumah, and then you remembered, and you always remembered that this is the Azara. As you walked in, you never forgot about the Azara, you only forgot about your Tumah. That's another case. And then we have, out of that comes the other variation of that, which is the opposite. What if, Nela mimenu mikdash v'zocher es hatumah? In other words, you forgot the shachach was that is the hazara, but you remembered your tummy the entire time. And then you have like that third case, which is not really counted because it's a combination of the two. That's these are the case of Shtaim Shen Arba. Okay, so all these cases bring a carbon oila v'yoyred. You have a yediyah b'tchila, you have a yediyah b'soif, and you have a forgetful state in the middle. That's what is necessary to be mechayiv someone in an oil of a yared. Okay, now the Mishnah gets a little sidetracked because once we're mentioning you walked into the Azara, so what part of the Azara did you walk into? Says the Mishnah, if you walked into the Azara proper, or if you walked into any add-ons they made to the Azara, yeah, you can make add-ons to the Azara. How do you do it? You're moisef with a melech, permission of the king. Right, we're learning all from Psukim. Rashi says, "V'novi v'urim v'tumim v'sanhedrin shashivim v'echad yisanhedrin ub'shtei toides." You bring two lachmei toide. Okay, we're going to talk about it in the Gemara. Ub'shir ubezdin mahalchen shtei toides acharein. There's a process, a procession. V'chol Yisrael acharein. And apnimis, one of the lachmei toide is necheles, and v'achitzoyna nisrefes. Which one is the primus? Which one is the chitzoyna? Why is one achelis? Why is one a srefes? That's coming attractions. We'll get to the Gemara. Says the Mishnah, V'chol shloi nasas b'chol elu. Anyone who's missing, any time you're moisif to the Azara and you didn't meet all the conditions, you didn't have the permission of Melech and Novi, Ramatum, Sanhedrin, and the Seder Akdasha, hanichnas l'sham ein chayiv alel. Anybody who goes in there without betoma, he's not chayiv a carbon b'shoigir carbon b'mezid. Why? Because it's not called mikdash. It wasn't niskadish with the kedushas hamikdash unless you had this entire process. Says the Mishnah Vayter, Nitma ba'azara. What if somebody became tumah in the azara? V'nelma mimenu tumah v'zachur as hamikdash. He forgot that he's tumah and he remembered that he is in the mikdash, that he's mamish in the base of mikdash. Or nelma mimenu mikdash v'zachur. Or so here the case is, he wasn't nitma outside of the Azara and walked into the Azara. Here the case is, mamish nitma ba'azara. He became tamei in the Azara itself. Yeah? Not sure what that case would be. How do you become tamei? Like, what's tamei? Like somebody brought in a sheretz in the Azara?
Yeah,
Like,
unfortunately, someone was nifter.
oh, somebody passed away. Shkoyach doctor. I was looking, find out, like, what's the case nitma ba'azara? Yeah? Yeah, okay, that could happen. So nitma ba'azara v'nelma mimenu tumah. And he forgot about it. He right away forgot. I don't know if somebody drops. I don't know how you forget right away.
He doesn't know. Like
or maybe he doesn't know.
Right, he forgets.
He's in the vicinity. He's in the okay. No, but he had to have known. No, it says he knew. He had to have known that he was tamei, and then he forgot about it.
The Mishnah Yuma, where they were running up the ramp.
Right. Oh, very good. Excellent Shtieble.
He stuck the knife
The knife into his heart. Yeah, very good Shtieble. Yeah. That's Taka case. Very nice, doctor.
Hard to say, get them out quickly before.
Beautiful. Yeah. So that's a case of Nitma Bazara or Nelam. So either he forgot that he was Tameh or Nelam and Abigdash Vazachar Tumeh forgot that he was in the Azara and he remembered that he was Tameh or Nelam and Azevazar. Either case, he forgot either one, both together. V'ishtachava, he was bowing down. Or he spent his time, his married time. I'm davening. Or instead of going out through a shorter route, he went the longer route. Chayev, then he's chayev. He's chayev a korban oila v'yored. Baktsara potter. But if Maisi went out right away, then you're potter. Says the Mishnah. Zui mitzvah seis shebamigdash she'in chayov noleha. This is the mitzvah asay of the mikdash that Sanhedrin and Kohen Gadol are not chayev to bring a parhal and davar shel tzibur. Which means what? Which means anytime Sanhedrin and Kohen Gadol make a mistake in Hayrah and they paskin mistakenly that they're allowed to be in the Azara Betumah, right? And they don't have to go out. So after they realize their mistake, usually if the Sanhedrin and Kohen Gadol paskin that way, then they have to bring a param davar shel tzibur because they misled an entire tzibur. In such a case, if they misled the tzibur in this aveira, this particular aveira, they do not bring a param davar shel tzibur. Why exactly not? Because they only bring a parallel davar shel tzibur on an aveira, which is usually chayev chatas, right? It's einish karis or chayev chatas b'shagig. But over here, since the aveira of tumas migdash doesn't bring your carbon chatas, your regular carbon chatas, so therefore they don't bring a param davar shel tzibur either. That is the halacha. What about ve'ezeh mitzvah say shebenida shechayav nolel? What about the mitzvahs say? Let's say they were hayre betois in matters of a nida, they would be chayev on a parhel davar shel tzibur if they mistakenly led the tzibur astray in an avera of a mitzvah say shebenida. Then they would be chayiv. What would be the case for that kind of mitzvah? Person is with his wife and she says, b'shas bia, she says, she's menstruating and she became tameh. So the halacha is that he has to wait till his aver becomes limp. Yeah? Because otherwise he has a no b'shas yitziyah. And that is an iser nida. So what if they paskin? No, you can be perish miyad, no problem. Mistakenly they paskin in a way that they led the tzibur to be over on this mitzvah seisha benida, perish miyad, chayev mipnei sheyitziyasoi ano like a biyasoi, because the hano of the yitziyah is like a bia, is considered a bia, so they have to. That's right. So they would have to bring a pound of shel tzibur. What's the? Oh.
No, this the oil can't see yet. Hopefully we'll get it up for the oil.
Okay, so 1 second. So why does the Mishnah bring this in? This is agav, because this is really a Mishnah in Horius. So agav, the mitzvah seisha b'migdash that is relevant, Tumas Mikdash Kadashav, over here, we bring in the other case in Horius as well, of Nida. Now we get back to Tumas Mikdash Kadashav. Rabbi Eliezer says, Hasheretz v'nelam imenu, al hasheretz, al helam sheretz chayiv, ve'en chayiv al helam mikdash. The way the Torah words the pasuk of a nelam, they have to have a forgetful state. Shilas forgot what. So Rabbi Eliezer says, you see sheretz is next to v'nelam imenu. So sheretz v'nelam imenu means you have your chayiv and helam sheretz, ve'en chayiv al helam mikdash. You only chayiv if you got your tameh through a sheretz, but if you got that you're in the base of mikdash, then you're not chayiv. Kiva omer v'nelam imenu tameh. Yeah, very similar to Rabbi Eliezer, but there's a difference. The Gemara is going to discuss what the difference is. Same idea that you only chayiv if you get your tummy, but you're not chayiv if you remembered your tummy the entire time if you got to the Beis Hamikdash. Rabbi Shmuel says, "V'nelam shtei pa'amim l'chayiv al helam tumah v'al Hamikdash." You chayiv in both, whether you forgot your tummy and you remember the entire time that it's the Beis Hamikdash, or you forgot that it's the Beis Hamikdash, you remember the entire time your tummy. You're chayiv in both. Okay, that's the Mishnah. Let's go straight to the Gemara and see if we can get a couple of lines of the Gemara in, so we can get to the bottom of the Yomid. Amar Rav Papa le'Abaye. Papa said to Abaye, you started off the Mishnah by saying Shtayim Shehen Arba, right? So Rav Papa said to Abaye, if my math is right, and I'm counting all the Yediyas, right? You say Yediyas Atuma Shtayim Shehen Arba. If you're counting all the ideas correctly, it's really Shtayim Shehein Sheish Havyan. Right? What are the Shtayim Shehein Sheish? They're really Sheish. Yediyas Atuma Tchila V'Soif. Yediyas HaKodesh Tchila V'Soif. Yediyas Migdash Tchila V'Soif. Let's get the other chart where it's circled the Tuma together. Right there. Take a look. So here you have the 4 cases. But he says, if you count the Yediyas, right? The Loshen is Yediyas Atuma Shtayim Shehein Arba. How many Yediyas do you have? So first of all, you have one Yediyah before by the carbon, one Yediyah after. One Yediyah before by the Azar, one Yediyah after. And then you have by the Tumah, since in both cases you're forgetting the same thing, that you're Tameh, so that's considered, that we count that as one. Both Yediyas B'tchila are counted as one, and both Yediyas B'soif are counted as one. So ask Rav Papa Abaye, if you're counting the Yediyas, you're saying Yediyas Atuma, Shtayim Shehein Arba. If you're really counting the Yediyas properly, you're counting each Yediyah, it's Shtayim Shehein Sheish. Why is it Sheish? You have 2 by carbon, 2 by Azar is 4, and then both Tumas, which is the same idea, you forgot your Tameh, that's another 2, Yediyah B'tchila, Yediyah B'Saif, that's Sheish altogether. So the math is wrong. That's what Papa asks Abaye. Yeah, what are you asking? I'm sorry. Asks the Gemara, let's take a look. According to you, Tamna Havyan. Why? The Ikatuma, the Kaidim, the Tumah, the Migdash, Tchila V'Saif. Here, take a look at this chart. You have to separate. If you're going to separate all the ideas, then ask better. Separate the Tumah also, because this is Tumah. You forgot your Tumah and you ate a carbon here. You forgot your Tumah and you walked into the Azar, so it's a different case. So you should be mechalik the ideas to 8. Right? Yediyah B'tchila, Yediyah B'Saif by Tumah when you walked into the Azara. Or Yediyah B'tchila, Yediyah B'Saif when you forgot by the Azar, and also by carbon and Kodesh. So either way, you don't have, the Gemara, similar conversation by Shabbos. So either way, it's definitely not.
16. We went up to 16.
Right, over there we went to 16. Okay. So we'll leave that for that. So either way, it's not Shtayim Shehein Arba. You don't have Shtayim Shehein Arba. Either Sheish, Shtayim Shehein Sheish, or Shtayim Shehein really Shmeina. Says the Gemara, no. Our Papa said, Dole Kasha. I wouldn't split up the Tumah into 4, because Mikom Makoim, Shem Tumah, Holika Shem Tumah Achasi. Because Shem Tumah, they're both the same idea, you forgot your Tumah. Mikom Makom Shesavian, but still, you can split up the carbon and the Azar into different Yediyas, and you have 6. Amar Rav Papa, so Rav Papa said, La'olam Tam Nahavyan. So Rav Papa said, no, really, he's Miyashiv, his own kash. It's La'olam Tam Nahavyan. Really, it's 8. Arba Kamaisa, Deloy Maisen la l'dei chiyuv carbon like a chashiv. Arba basraisa the Maisen l'dei carbon kachashiv. Very simple. So he says, last chart, he says we don't count the Yediyas B'tchila, because that doesn't bring you to a chiyuv carbon. The chiyuv carbon happens when you remembered you did something wrong. So those Yediyas are counted and added up, and that's only 4 and not 8, because the Arba Kamaisa we don't count. Ve'ekad Amri. Some say a different reason. Amar Papa Lo'ilam Tam Nahavyan. Really, there are 8 Yediyas. You're right. V'arba Kamaisa, the lesnu b'chal atera kulo kachashiv. Arba besides the isnu b'chal atera kulo loy kachashiv. So here we're saying that the Arba Kamaisa that is unique to over here, that we mention. Arba Basraisa that is b'chal atera kulo, that we don't mention. It's not miyuchad over here, right? So what does that mean? That means that usually when you do an Aveira, right? Let's say a guy eats on Yom Kippur, and he never had a Yediyah B'tchila that you're not allowed to eat on Yom Kippur. He never knew. Okay, so he never knew. Then somebody teaches him the halacha and says, oh my gosh, I did something wrong. So he has to bring a carbon chatas, right? It's a mistake. Isser Karas brings a carbon chatas. It doesn't matter if you had a Yediyah B'tchila and he forgot. You don't need the Yediyah B'tchila to bring a carbon by any other Aveira in the Torah. So the Yediyah L'Basayif is always Mechayiv your carbon. It's not unique to these Averis. So we don't mention the Yediyah L'Basayif. We only mention the Yediyah B'tchila because Yediyah B'tchila is a unique halacha that you can't bring a carbon oil of a Yored unless you had a Yediyah B'tchila. So Rav Papa mentions only the Yediyahs Sheb'tchila. So just switch around the circle to the top Yediyahs, which we don't have, but that's the second teretz. So the Shtayim Shehein Arba, Yediyas Atom Shtayim Shehein Arba, which Yediyas are we talking about, depending on which teretz we're going with. Either we're going with the last yediyas because that's ma'aseh l'dichi of carbon, or are we going to the first yediyas because that is unique to carbon oil of a yored in this avera? Yeah. נכון. By these averas, right? These averas you cannot bring a carbon unless you had a yediyah batchala. Oh, says the Gemara, what kind of yediyah batchala? How far do you need to go with yediyah? Boy Rav Papa, nelmu mimenu hilchas tuma mahu. What if you forgot hilchas tuma? Mahu. What is that kind of nelmu? What kind of forgetfulness do you need? What level of forgetfulness do you need? Hey chadami, ilay medilo yoda. Isheretz tomei it's fardeya tomei. What do you mean? Like what? He forgot that a sheretz is matama, or it's fardeya is matama. That's the forgetfulness we're talking about. Zilkar beiravu, right? Everybody knows, right? In other words, he didn't have that yediyah. Is that called? Right, so that's the shaila. Is that called enough of a yediyah batchila? How far do you how educated do you have to be to begin with? That's the shaila. How educated do you have to be to begin with? So the Gemara says, not knowing that a sheretz is matama, zil kari beiravu. Everybody knows it. So even if he didn't know it, it's called the yediyah. It sounds like from Tosfos. Take a look at Tosfos. V'hava k'moishe yeshkan yediyah. Shehoyu loy lishoyu. Kiva shedavar zeh yidu l'tanoikis. Everybody knows it. In other words, it's a chiddush over here. What the Gemara is saying is, if the knowledge is so accessible to you that all you got to do is ask a child, that's called yediyah b'tchila. So I today with the internet and with ChatGPT, even though, by the way, do not rely on ChatGPT for halachas or for divrei Torah, because I cannot tell you how many times I inserted ChatGPT shilas, Igros Moshe, and they give me the lashon of Reb Moshe in a tshuva, and I look it up and it's nowhere to be found. I say, Me'efer lakachta et zeh? Where'd you get it from? And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, you're right, it's not there. And so and then they make up Gemaras and you can't rely. So I'm not sure if you could say, since ChatGPT exists, so now it's everybody is a yodeya. No, it's not so pashut. So far, ignorant, not a liar. It's different.
Why? He invents his own halachos.
Yeah. Makes up. Lokach the data, whatever, but yeah.
They're not reliable. They are not reliable.
But anyway, Tosfos Yisoid is that anytime it's a dover you do that all you got to do is ask, right? Then it's nechshav ki yediyah betchila. Big yisoid.
That are not so like a hedgehog, right?
Right.
Like
okay, it's not so pashut.
A rat is disgusting.
So the Gemara is going to give a different example. Oilam du yoda b'tum sheretz ki goin the noga ka'adasha. Let's put up the size of an adasha. V'lo yoda ka'adasha mitama iloy mitama. He had a different suffix. He touched the sheretz. He knew it's mitama, but he didn't know if the size of the sheretz is enough to be mitame. Mai kiva the yoda mitama sheretz ba'olam yediyahi. Aydilma kiva the kadasha lo yoda mitama iloy mitama alomi. Is that called the idea for knowing that a sheretz is matame? At least he knew that, but he didn't know if the size of the sheretz that he touched is that enough to be matamim or not. Last three lines, I'm sorry. Boy Rabir Teku. The Gemara says Teku. That's Taka Shaila. We're not sure. Boy Rabir me, last one. Ben Bovel Sha'ol Eretz Yisrael v'nel v'menu Makoy Mikdash Ma'u. This is the size of Adasha. What about a Ben Bovel that comes there to Yisrael and he doesn't know that the Mikdash is in Yerushalayim? He doesn't know where it is. He knows. Yeah? If according to Rabbi Akiva that needs Yediyah B'tchila by Mechayev al Mikdash, it's not relevant because he's not Mechayev on the case of Mikdash. If he forgets this Beis HaMikdash, right? He doesn't need Yediyah B'tchila. So anyways, according to both Tanoim, it's not relevant that Shiloh Tzich El Libi the Rebbe, the Boy Yediyah B'tchila Mechayev al Mikdash. You need Yediyah B'tchila and you're Mechuyev if you get it's the Azara. So what's the Shiloh is, he knew there is a Beis HaMikdash, the concept of Beis HaMikdash, but he didn't know this is the Beis HaMikdash. Is that enough of a Yediyah B'tchila to be Mechayev on a carbon afterwards? Va'omar yediyas beis rabbi shma yediyah. Is it enough to know there's a concept of the Beis Hamikdash if he doesn't know the Makim, or not? If he doesn't know the Makim, it's not called Yediyah B'tchila. That's also a Teiku. Okay, we'll stop over here. I apologize for going 3 minutes over time.